Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are putting in a new door. So what would normally be a pretty quick install is not going to be. We're going to go ahead and reframe it and recenter it. I guess when they did it, they did not do any of that stuff. So there will be some stuff that takes a little bit longer as per usual, but for the portions and the steps of installing your own door, I'll let you know where that is, because it's not an extremely hard thing to do, but let's get to it. So one of the things with a door install that they don't typically do is reinforce it. And I'll kind of show you the reasons I want to put a new door in, aside from it just being pretty trashed out from the previous people there. Reinforcement is not typically something that's done. When it comes to hardware, they're using maybe an inch when it comes to the screws and installation portion of it. And we will not be doing that. We're going to be reinforcing it pretty well. And this is one of the reasons that you do not want to just go with your typical hardware on it.
Well, heidi ho, neighbor. I think it may be time for a little spring cleaning.
That's the reason that you want to do it. Typically, there will be someone on the other side of that door. And this is what happens to your frame when you have not a lot of reinforcement going on. It gets pretty busted up. Time to get a new door on. So we got it all open, all prepped, and what we ended up doing was putting this cross here as bracing, and then a good nailer, just since there's going to be a lot of traffic going in and out here. So it's now time to put the subfloor in and start framing this out. Got the door hung, and I'll kind of show you what I end up doing here. All right, so what we end up doing, you always want to put the shims behind where your screws are going to go, because you don't want to draw in that jam there. So got those. And I ended up taking out the screws on the hinges that go in there to put in a longer screw. So when you got the door kicked in earlier, those screws obviously weren't there. They were about, maybe an inch. And that's being generous. So going with the longer screws into the thicker framing, and it's going to do the job that I wanted to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put the hardware on, and I'll end up closing this in later on, but I end up showing you what it looks like. So got the door all in here. It's working. I'm gonna come back here in a second. We're gonna go grab something to eat. And not too bad. those are like a dream. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break here and then finish up trimming it out, but at least putting up the underlayment here. So all right, when got cleaned up, changed, was going to be done for the day, and then decided, let's get this all finished up. So go ahead and just get the rest of the couple of nailers on here, put the substrate on, and just be done with this project, and then on to the next one. So let's get it all finished up, cleaned up, and all done. All right, finished up. I'm gonna clean up later on, but the door's all framed out. It's all finished with the substrate, and let's take a look at it here. Got it all finished up. I'm not gonna put the deadbolt on right now because it's gonna be a temporary hardware fix here. We're gonna go with something different. So it's not your typical header. We went a little different on this one. Typically you'd have your header, you'd have your jack studs, and then you have a king stud go up, but because there's not a lot of support here, we ended up kind of doing a little different and put 2 jack studs on either side. So we had a good nailer to go into the frame of the door there. And by doing that, it gave a little more strength for the hinges, for what is going to be the deadbolt, and all the hardware for it. So a little different than your typical. It works for the structural strength of the door itself and having the header there, but since you don't have a ton of weight on that portion like you typically would, like the windows, and having to do it that way, we were able to kind of play around with it and just run our header all the way across there and have the outer studs as our king studs for it. So I'm going to call it for the evening. Door turned out great. And typically it wouldn't be that hard. You'd cut your door out, you have your rough opening, get your measurements, and you can slap your new frame in and call it a day. But that's not how this was. So we had to reframe everything, and the other door was not centered, so I wanted to make sure to center it off of what we had. And of course with that, there's a whole lot more work involved, but it's done. It turned out great. I'm excited to move on to other things now. But as I'm looking at the front of the house, it just kind of was a quick win that makes it look that much closer to being done. So I'm going to call it. And until next time, you have a good one, and I'll see you soon.